Hello, and thanks for watching. My name is Marjorie, and I'd like to share with you a few things that I wish I'd known when I was diagnosed with MS. I know everyone's journey is different, but whether you're new to the disease or you've been fighting it for years, these tips may be helpful moving forward. Okay, let's get into it. First and foremost, who am I? Well, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a woman diagnosed in 2008, now one of six members of my family, all raised in different regions of the country. After my diagnosis and struggling with adjusting, I decided not only to get involved with the National MS Society, but to do as much research as possible on my own to find ways of managing what I could and attempt to keep the flare ups at bay. The more people I've met fighting this disease, the more I realize how important it is for us as a community to share with each other what we've learned. As I sat on that cold examining room bench, I could feel my heart beating out of my chest. The neurologist walked in, sat down, and casually stated, "I've looked at your file and can confirm you have MS. You probably have about 10 years of mobility left." The next word I heard was wheelchair, but I didn't even comprehend anything else in that sentence. If you have MS, you've been there too. One conversation changes your world. You find yourself spiraling, trying to understand what it all means for today and for tomorrow. It's not unusual for it to take time to wrap your mind around this diagnosis. There are still days when I find myself shaking my head in disbelief. You are the most important person involved in this diagnosis, which means your health has to be the priority. It's an extremely stressful time in your life, and MS thrives in stressful environments. You can't manage your emotions based on the expectations of others. This diagnosis will be a situation that will take you on a crazy roller coaster ride from this point on. And you won't be okay for your loved ones if you aren't taking care of your physical and emotional well being. If you have to deal with this disease, now is the best time. When my aunt was diagnosed, the doctor had nothing to offer her but well wishes. Now there's an abundance of information and research, as well as more MS medications and therapies than there's ever been. Some are even showing signs of promoting remyelinization, the regrowth of that protective sheath around the nerve. I've spoken with many MS patients who've been fighting the disease for years, yet didn't understand what it was. I'm a pretty visual person, so I use this very general, broad way of describing the disease. Of course, it's more complex than my description, but at least this provides a general idea of what's happening for you, or if you need to explain it to someone else. So imagine your central nervous system is a breaker box for your home. When new and well wired, every outlet and appliance works as it should. Now, let's imagine that MS comes in the form of a raccoon. This troublemaker does a real number on that breaker box, shredding the protective coating or myelin off the wires or nerves. The wires are now exposed, impacting the ability for a clear signal to get to the outlet and appliance or body part. When the appliance or arm or leg doesn't work and receive the electricity correctly, it shorts and sometimes burns out. There are other aspects of MS to include inflammation, autoimmunity, and slow progression, but the bottom line is you have to know the enemy before you can fight the battle. When your life changes, your role changes. When you're diagnosed with something that isn't going away, you need to become your own medical advocate. No one is as concerned about your health as you will be. Maybe you've heard the expression, a patient cured is a customer lost. This may sound a bit cynical, but it's true. Now, I'm not implying that your doctor doesn't want the best for you, so please don't send me any nasty comments. But pharmaceutical companies are for-profit businesses, as are the majority of medical entities. If your objective is to be the best you can with the fewest number of drugs and expensive visits, it's crucial to do your homework. Sometimes we find ourselves loyal to people who don't deserve it. Doctors can fall into that category as well. You are not obligated to stay with a doctor who isn't evolving. They should be able to discuss updates in research, new medications, and other ways to manage symptoms. They should also be willing to discuss changes from one MRI to the next. If the mindset is it's incurable, so there's not much I can offer, or you know more about the medical updates than they do, it may be time to consider a change. As time progresses, you're not going to be able to keep up with every appointment, symptom change, medicine side effect, and dietary response without documenting. By the time I realized this, I was scrambling to keep up with everything and what was done. Medical portals are great as long as you don't need to change medical plans. Also, some only make files available for a limited time before the information is archived, and you're required to pay for your own files. Ask for a copy of your MRI disc immediately after your procedure. Take it along when you visit your doctor. Old or new, it allows them to hit the ground running in your appointment. Thinking about MS every single day is exhausting, and it's completely understandable when you just want to bury your head in the sand. Whether you're new to the journey or you've been dealing with it, knowledge is power. Manage your controllables. It's good to have a general understanding of things like your medications. It's also important to keep up with changes in how you feel after meals. You may discover certain foods are fogging you up or triggering headaches. You may not be able to clean the whole house on a Saturday morning anymore. So put together a schedule for those who live with you. Or if you live alone, work on tackling one room or chore a day. Incorporate flexibility when you can. There are going to be opportunities to do things that sound great, or an errand or two you need to run until the day of, and you realize you don't have the energy to do it. And that's okay. Pad your timing when it comes to errands and activities when you can. If you know your car inspection is due at the end of the month, don't wait until the last week. Start preparing to take care of it at the beginning of the month. Because if we try to live business as usual, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. We have to adapt, or we'll keep ourselves in a very stressful cycle. We've been programmed by default to answer to other people, I'm all right. But telling ourselves that can come at a cost. Ask yourself questions. Was I foggier the past 2 days? What was I eating? I went to an outdoor activity and it took 2 days to recover. What was the temperature? Multiple things have changed for you physically, to include how medication impacts you and interacts with your lifestyle, nutrition, rest, and hydration. Here's an example of a tracking table I like to use. Guys, I know it seems like a lot to keep track of, but all it takes is a notebook and a pen, or your phone in the notes. Once I began writing things down, it was actually a relief. I didn't have to try to remember everything between appointments. And it's extremely valuable when you sit down with your doctor. You don't have to track every day, just the significant changes. MRIs are not the only measure of how MS is affecting you, and tracking this type of information could prove extremely helpful in marking your progression or regression. While it's true that MS likes to wreak havoc in multiple parts of your body, it isn't always the culprit. Stay on top of your routine appointments like mammograms, colonoscopies, and prostate exams. Keeping track and monitoring overall health shouldn't stop. Unfortunately, it is possible to have other issues while dealing with MS. It's also important to research and understand the relationship between multiple sclerosis and other parts of your body, to include oral health, gut health, and how the autoimmune component plays a role. I'm the last person on earth that has the right to tell you what you should and shouldn't eat, and I won't. But for me, I don't believe in deprivation as a game plan. What I eat is based on how I want to look and feel the next day. I know the importance of eating well to keep inflammation at a minimum. But if on occasion I want pizza or a Chicago hot dog, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. For me, it's about incorporating more healthy foods than focusing on what I can't have. All movement can be good movement. Whether you're able to take walks, exercise regularly, or incorporate extra steps in your days, in your housework, Please keep moving. This is crucial for everyone, not just MS patients. YouTube has videos for the seated, walking, dancing, and conditioning at all levels. And if you're looking for an easy starting point, look into the neurological impact of music. Something as simple as tones and rhythms can have a positive physical impact. When it comes to MS, everyone around you is learning on the fly. They want to support you, but they may not know how to. You know your loved one's strengths, and you'll absolutely need various types of support. So make sure you ask the right person for the right type of support. You don't want to call your serious friend when you need funny distractions, and you don't want to ask your spontaneous friend to commit to rides and appointments. Be honest and candid with them. Help them understand what you need and why. I know how hard this is for us raised to be fiercely independent, and it may not be needed all the time, but we've got to be okay with asking. In my opinion, this is the most important aspect of the journey. In the years, in the early years of my diagnosis, I kept referring back to my previous abilities and self-imposed standards, not only around work, but every aspect of my life. I kept feeling like I was fighting myself to get back what I lost. It wasn't until my father passed away that I realized grieving isn't just for that type of loss. Grieving is for all kinds of loss, and MS was taking me through all of these stages over and over again. I couldn't move forward in this new world until I had grieved the loss of what I thought my life and my future would look like. I had to let go so my mind could be open to possibilities in this life. I found that grieving with an incurable disease isn't a cycle. It's a random wave of emotions that can show up throughout your journey at any time, through a whimper or through a roar. But if you don't allow yourself to grieve, they don't go away. They just come out when you least expect it. People struggle with accepting the changes that MS patients are going through because in most cases we look and sound like the same person they've always known. It can be a little bizarre to them how yesterday we seemed to be moving around well, and today we can't get out of bed. We're canceling plans because we took a shower and it drained our energy. People may be disappointed, but so are you. And those who truly want to understand this will. You decide what is worth pushing through for, because only you have to deal with the physical consequences of doing so. My support group shared challenges with loved ones understanding the magnitude of what we're dealing with, so I recorded a short video on living with MS from the inside out. It's also on this YouTube channel, so feel free to take a look and share it. Once I got through several cycles of grief and accepted that MS wasn't going away, I became open to other ways of finding quality in this life. MS is not a death sentence, so what can you still do? What can you contribute, help, or even pursue? Something that you've always had an interest in. If you allow it to over time, MS can release you from worrying about the expectations of others in a lot of different ways. What do I mean? Well, you're dealing with one of the worst things someone can. So if you decide you want to take up painting or write a book, who cares what other people think? Each day you're giving 100% just to be. And that 100% may look different every day, but it's all you got. You still deserve to have aspects of your life that you enjoy, just like everyone else. Most importantly, support groups can connect you with those who understand exactly what you're going through. Support groups are not only about the sadness or depression. The right group can provide additional insight, symptom information, great conversation, support, new research, doctor referrals, and lots of laughter. This describes my group to a T. Let's be real, does MS suck? Absolutely. In the midst of the chaos, it's easy to forget we can still function in countless ways. We have to choose to keep fighting and finding joy in the things we can still do. Each year, create a new list and try things. You may require a slight twist, but don't drift from living to just existing. And if you feel you're already in the just existing phase, it's definitely time to reach out. It's never too late. Thank you for tuning in. I truly hope you found something I've shared to be helpful moving forward. Touch base, reach out, or even join us as we continue in this journey together.